Bordered by France and Spain, the Principality of Andorra is situated in the eastern Pyrenees, and the sheer beauty of this mountainous state has drawn ultra runners from all around the globe to compete in Andorra Ultra Trail Val Nord 2016. Amongst them, USA's world-class, record-breaking veteran runner Melissa Gosney, and she's had plenty of time to look around.
My husband and I came here about 10 days before the race, and we just went and ran trails. We would go out with the intention of getting on the course, but get sidetracked because the place is so beautiful. And the mountains it's just great. You can go up on the ridges and end up in France, and we went to Spain for a little bit, and it's lovely here.
The race is hosted in northern Andorra, and all the races start and finish at the mountain town of Ordino. Its population of 3,000 more than doubles. There are over 3,000 runners, officials and supporters. The event is now in its 8th year and it keeps on growing, a great reflection of the race, the place and the personalities involved. Gerard Martinez is the race director, and he explains the development. He says Andorra Trail is a tale of craziness. We started just trying to have a race in the mountains with a handful of people. In fact, the first race was attended by 600, and now we're close to 3,100 people from 40 different countries. We're growing by an unbelievable demand for places in the races, and we're absolutely aware that everyone wants to come to the Andorran mountains. Well, there is a definite buzz in town. The solidarity, the camaraderie, the friendship between the athletes is the envy of many sports. All the athletes know that they're going to suffer, none more so than those doing the long event, the Ronda de Cime. 170 kilometers of running, that's over 100 miles, and that involves 13,500 meters of ascent. That's 8.5 miles, 1.5 times up Mount Everest, 10 times up Ben Nevis. And Noel Passarà is one of the few who can consider himself a favourite.
He
says the physical and emotional exhaustion this kind of race produces is unimaginable. You have to have experienced it to understand it. And it's the type of race where you don't run against others, you run against yourself. Luckily, he says, I have family that come to support, and it's due to them that we're able to keep going for such a long time. There are plenty of competitors from Japan, the most serious of which is Kenichi Yamamoto, who finished second back in 2013.
Yeah, 2013, but that race, heavy snow, many snow, so course is change. Andorra mountain is very big and hard and most beautiful in the world.
Is this going to be his year? Well, the women's lineup is no less impressive. Miriam Martinez looking to win this event for the 3rd time. We've got Melissa Gosney from USA, very experienced. And there are 2 world-class Italians, Lisa Bozzani and Marta Poretti.
I am used to do this kind of race. I'm not a professional, but it's not the first time I do this kind of race. For me, the key is not stopping so much at the refreshment point. I prefer to take something and go against, better to stay awake.
All those athletes in the Ronda de Cime, the first event to get underway, the longest event by some margin here in Andorra. They're extraordinary athletes, and part of the reason there's been such a good atmosphere in the town is the fact that all these competitors have been surrounded by people who understand them, they understand their emotions, they understand their motivation. And Nicola Bassi feels that as strongly as anyone. He says it's beautiful here, there's a certain kindness, a warmth, and all along the course you find people cheering, clapping, encouraging. It's hard work, but it's exciting, says Bassi. Even the race director is out on the course to support as the leaders go through. And from the start, it's a long climb up to Sortony. Only 21 kilometers of 170 completed at this stage. Pep Ballester is up there with the leaders. Savicente is there. Noel Pesaro, just a steady start from him, the former footballer, and Nicola Bassi right up in the mix. In the women's race, Lisa Bozzani has the lead. She got 4 big podiums last year. This is Naria Martinez, who's looking for her 3rd win. Anna Marin going well from Finland, and Melissa Gosney not losing too much ground in the early stages. Jamel Khoury from the USA, from track to ultra running.
I heard about the race from a couple of runners back home, Jared Campbell and Rock Horton. They run the Hard Rock 100. It's a race I've done a few times, and I just heard about how tough it was, that it had a lot more climbing than Hard Rock, and that was really appealing to me, as well as the beauty of the area.
His motto is climb steep, get high. Well, he's going to get plenty of that with 8.5 miles of ascent to complete in the 106-mile race. It's a mind-blowing undertaking. And even at this stage, only 30 kilometers of the 170 completed.
I feel like this is the hardest race maybe I've ever done because of the time it takes to complete the 170 kilometers, but also because the trail conditions are very technical. And so I love that. I love the altitude, and I love the way the mountains are here.
As they go through Pla de Lastani, over 2,000 meters high. Noel Passerat leading, Pep Ballester in 2nd, Luis Sanvicente in 3rd, and Nicola Bassi, who knows he's going to go through dark times, currently lying in 4th place.
No, il posto è sicuramente bellissimo.
It's a wonderful place, he says. The mountains are beautiful at the same time as being imposing. It's an incredibly challenging terrain, just the way I like it, just the way a lot of us runners like it. And he's sure that every single competitor will find something that draws them back to Andorra time and time again. And the climbing is relentless. Coma Pedroso, the highest point in the race. Bozzani and Martinez may be out to win this one, but most are just here to finish, and only 45% of the field managed that last year.
I'm going into the race just hoping to finish. I think looking at the numbers of people that finish versus the number of people that start this race, it's always a bit of a sobering number that to emphasises what this race is about.
The uphills are hard. It can break your heart, it can break your mind. But the downhills is where the real damage is done. You have to control the pace to protect the muscles and joints. Col de la Batella, 2,097 meters. It's uphill again and again. After 61 kilometers, it's Pep Ballester who leads, the man who finished 3rd back in 2012 with a time of 33 hours 50. He's ahead of Passerat, the man who finished 3rd last year. So real competition at the front, and only 100 meters or so between the two of them. Bassi in 3rd, and Yamamoto, the Japanese adrenaline hunter as he's known at home, has moved up into 4th. In the women's race, Lisa Bozzani of Italy looks fantastic, and she surprised the 2 favourites. Martinez, 2-time winner, is in 2nd place and looks to be struggling. Melissa Gosney of USA, very steady on the downhills, the American. But remember, they still have over 100 kilometres to go. The shorter races, the Mythic. Well, it is a shorter race, less climbing, a later start, a much later start, but they still have to cover some 112 kilometres with a total of 9,700 metres of climbing. Even the quickest won't beat 20 hours. Amongst the favourites, local runner Xavier Tixido. He says he thinks the Ronda del Cime and the Mythic distances are two of the hardest ultras that you can find on the world circuit. And he says nowadays people aren't looking for easy races, they're looking for a real challenge. And he thinks that's one of the reasons why so many people have come to Andorra, and it's not just about the beautiful landscapes. Well, it's unusual to start in the evening. It's a little bit of a novelty. But it makes for great pictures and a great atmosphere. Massive support. Tuxedo's saying that he really enjoys running at night time. He's so used to running in the day that when he runs in the dark, everything becomes new. You get more motivated, and actually you feel you're going much faster than you are. It's early days, but the route will be segmentalized. And for 33-year-old Jocelyn Pauli, a marathon runner, she'll probably split the race into 3 full marathons.
J'ai trouvé ça bien, j'avais déjà fait des ultras.
She's run some races in the past where you start in the morning and you run all night, but this is the first one she's done where you've started at night time. Really enjoyed running in the night time and going on through sunrise. She says the weather conditions perfect, hardly any cold at all, just ideal conditions for running. With 5 events in all, the 2 longest are now underway. There'll be some uplifting moments, some mind-blowing scenery, but at the same time there'll be some dramas, there'll be plenty of exhaustion. The competitors in both the Ronda del Cime and the Mythic have over 20 hours to go before they reach Ordino. Welcome back to the Andorra Ultra Trail. 5 events in all, each route a loop that starts and finishes in Ordino. A real festival of trail running. Over 3,000 runners signed up. The Celeste Trail attracting as many as any other event. 83 kilometers, 5,000 meters of vertical gain to be made. One in just over 10 hours last year. Eduard Caballero saying it's fantastic to run for so long during the night, especially when you're surrounded by all the runners from the other distances. You get to see them going up, you see the flashlights working their way up the mountainside. Just amazing. Well, even the Celeste Trail starts at night. The idea is that all the races finish within a few hours of each other when they return to the host town. The Coma Pedrosa is the biggest mountain on the route, the refuge, a welcome sight to the runners. They can go without sleep for 30-40 hours. They cannot go without sustenance for that length of time. It is an incredibly tough race, and everyone is always asked, why do they do it? Marta Peretti doesn't have an answer.
During the race, sometimes I can't believe what I am doing, because in doing this kind of race you are engaged for many hours. Sometimes I feel what I'm doing, why I am here, and at the end there is no point of my body that doesn't hurt.
I'm not sure Nicola Bassi is any the wiser, but he does have solutions as to how to cope with the sleep deprivation and the hardship. He says to run for so many hours without sleeping can be challenging, but if you face it in the right way, it can be quite a peaceful experience with moments of pure calm. To me, it was great to be able to run at night with a silent sky full of stars. A really emotional occasion. On to the Boni de la Pica at 2,350 meters at sunrise. Quite sensational. place of real beauty, enjoyed by even the most competitive of the athletes.
Ici, moi je lui conseillerais vraiment de venir parce qu'il y a de superbes paysages.
Jocelyn Pauli says she advises everyone to come to Andorra. Breathtaking scenery, but she also warns everyone that you have to come prepared. The mountains are high, the hills are steep, and when you think you've reached the top, you find you're nowhere close. She says the downhills can also be very technical. For us mountain lovers, she says, the beauty is unmatched, but you have to be prepared. Friends made every inch of the way. The fourth of the 5 races, the Marató del Cim, 42.5 kilometers and 3,000 meters of vertical ascent. These men and women are taking no easy option. The pace will be furiously fast, but they've had 24 hours of enjoying the atmosphere in Ordino.
Pues es una fiesta porque
it's a party, says Zarine Fruto. Since yesterday, when the Ronda started, there has been a continuous music festival in the town. Paul Rodriguez and Albert Puyol making their intentions of running together very clear. And at the halfway stage of the Marató event, the two men still together. Individual efforts enhanced by teamwork. Paul Rodriguez saying he was feeling strong, his head was in the right place, and found it easy to run with Albert. He has a lot of common with his training mate, and they've both been pushing each other all the way. Albert says we've enjoyed the uphills, the downhills, the technical sections. It was a joy to race together. But he, like most of the athletes, enjoying the landscape more than anything else. By the time the athletes in the 2 longest events, the Ronda and the Mythic, go through Val d'Anclès, they have only 27 kilometers to go. They're on the home run, but 2 peaks over 2,000 meters still to be negotiated. And the finish. Ordino has been waiting for the arrival of the Ronda de Cim. And it's Noel Passerat, the former professional footballer, a goalkeeper. He only took up running 4 years ago. He became serious about trail running 2 years ago. And he says he runs for maximum enjoyment. Well, the win will certainly help here in Andorra. He has become a trail running giant. Passerat chased all the way by Japan's Kenichi Yamamoto, Japan's best international trail runner. Gracious, humble, ever popular, the perfect ambassador. And 3rd place goes to Nicola Bassi, 32 hours, 43 minutes. He's only 28 years old, but he's already done 12 years of serious racing. The winner saying, I started slowly, I gained ground bit by bit. He ran really relaxed, but always controlling. Control, 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 he said to himself through the night. And that allowed him to run fresh in the morning. He says he's not a very fast runner, but he loves hard races. He loves races where you can win with your head. Lisa Bozzani taking the women's title, 4 huge successes last year, and she's got more this year. Melissa Gosney, all the way from America. It was worth the journey. She has smiled from start to finish. And Marta Peretti, who will share the podium with her teammate and compatriot, Lisa Bozzani.
I feel good, but The race is very strong because uphill are very hard and downhill are plain of stones and so very difficult.
Mikel Pesero and Ada Funiel taking the titles in the Celeste Trail, 83 kilometres. Puyol and Rodriguez hand in hand across the line. A great joint effort from them, and Zorine Frutos winning the women's marathon. Xavier Tuxedo, a local man, winning the Mythic at 112 kilometres, 18 hours 47, and Jocelyn Pauli winning the women's event. A former marathon runner come good. 4 races completed, 1 to go. The Solidarity Trail, the shortest of all at 10 kilometres, but for every single athlete, this will seem just as long as the 170. Gerard Martinez, the race director, knows this is just as important as any other event. He says the Solidarity Trail is a race that provides a meeting point for the elite athletes and the disabled athletes. That's one of our big goals here. It's really important that the elite runners come here and share the mountain with people that almost never have the opportunity to go out and do something like this. A joint effort, a celebration, a procession, and great to see Nuria Pico, one of Spain's top ultra runners. Says from the Ronda to the Solidarity Trail, all the courses here are spectacular. This year she really wanted to run the marathon distance, but she's had a couple of injuries that have stopped her from doing this. But delighted to play a part in the Solidarity Trail. And she says there's no excuse whatsoever for not getting involved in this event at any distance. Great scenes, great celebrations. And the prize giving, of course, an important part of proceedings. But as Noel Passerat said at the start of his race, you're not racing each other, you're racing yourself. And on that note, if you finish, you win. Many won't have done, but I'm sure most of them will be back again next year to try and conquer the Andorra Ultra Trail. The essence of our race, says Gerard Martinez, is much more about sharing than it is competing. It's about sharing emotions, sharing the mountains and feelings and adventures. That is what we're about in this race, and it shows.